The pain of feeling like a cracked vessel. It is the exhaustion of going through life absorbing the negativity of others, of having your good mood ruined by a trivial event, of feeling that your inner peace is constantly leaking through cracks you cannot find. It is the feeling of being emotionally porous, of the world entering you without asking permission, leaving you exhausted, fragile, and at the mercy of circumstance. Promise of power. But for this power to be real, it needs to be understood in its deep Jungian wisdom. The goal of the soul's journey is not to become invulnerable, a stone that feels nothing. That would be death in life. The goal is to forge a psyche so strong and so whole that it becomes an alchemical vessel, containing any experience, no matter how toxic or intense, and instead of breaking into pieces, being able to transform that experience into wisdom, compassion, power. Being unaffected does not mean not feeling. It means having an inner container so strong that nothing can break. From this perspective, stop being the victim. You become the alchemist. Your life is your laboratory, and events, the chemical ingredients that existence presents. And your job is not to blame the ingredients for your reactivity. Your job is to perfect your containment vessel, which is your own consciousness. This video will not teach you how to build a wall to isolate yourself from life. It is intended to be a guide to the sacred art of forging your inner vessel. 5 alchemical stages of this process, a step-by-step process that will take you from reactive fragility to sovereign resilience, so that you can finally contain the totality of life without losing yourself in the process. Is not avoiding the fires of life, but becoming the master, able to use that same fire not to burn yourself out, to grow stronger each day. The first stage of the forge is an honest diagnosis of our fragility, and the pain we feel here is that of constant exhaustion. It is the pain of taking everything personally, of ruminating on a difficult conversation for days on end, of being unable to disconnect from a stressful event at work. There are no boundaries between you and the world, that your energy is always leaking out, and that your inner peace is shattered with disconcerting ease. What Jungian psychology teaches us is that this state of chronic reactivity occurs in an undifferentiated psyche. This means that in your current state, there is no clear separation between your observing I, your conscious ego, and the raw emotion that is activated. Ingredients poured into you. It instantly merges with your entire system. And why does this happen? Because our complexes, our old unhealed wounds, create true structural cracks in our psyche, points of fragility through which our energy leaks and the negativity of the world enters. And here is the revelation that can transform the way you see yourself. Your sensitivity is not your weakness. It is your raw material. The problem is not that you feel too much. The vessel, your consciousness, has not yet been strengthened enough to contain the intensity of your own magnificent capacity to feel. Your heightened sensitivity is not a curse. It is a call from your soul to do a great deal of inner strengthening. It is a sign that you were designed to contain much, and that now you need to build a continent that is equal to your ocean. To begin to identify where your cracks are, the invitation is to do a crack mapping. Broke you emotionally, a comment, a criticism, a disappointment. Now, instead of focusing on the external event, turn your attention inward and ask yourself, what painful belief about myself did this situation activate? Maybe it was, I am a failure, or nobody cares about me, or I am not good enough. This core belief, which usually comes with an I am, is the exact location of the crack in your psychic vessel, molded with immense potential. But if this pot is not placed in the fire, in the oven of consciousness, it will remain just dry clay, porous, fragile, and incapable of retaining any precious liquid that life pours into it. It will crumble with the first heavy rain. This video is precisely the process of taking courage and intention this clay of yours to the alchemical, so that it can transform into a strong, whole pottery capable of containing the nectar of life. After diagnosing the fragility of our vessel, the next step is to understand our relationship with the ingredients that life presents, and the pain that arises here is that of impotence. It is the victim narrative we all learn to tell. With, he made me feel this way. That situation ruined my, if they hadn't done that, I would be at peace. It is the feeling that our peace and well-being are constantly in the hands of external forces that we cannot control. What is at work here is a defense mechanism of the ego called projection of causality. We project onto others and onto events responsibility for our own internal reaction, because it is psychologically much easier and more comfortable to blame an external agent than to take on the difficult and sometimes painful task of looking at our own cracks, our own complexes, and our own fragility. We point the finger outwards so that we don't have to point the flashlight inward. And here is the breaking of expectations that is the beginning of all personal sovereignty. No one can make you feel anything. They're just the chemical ingredients that life mixes in its laboratory. The explosive reaction, the corrosion, or the dissolution that follows is not because of the ingredient, but because of the instability of your own vessel. At a deep level, you stop engaging in the impossible of trying to control the world, of trying to change all the ingredients, and begin to focus on the only task that is possible and within your control. Strengthen integrity of your... To begin practicing this reclaiming of power, we invite you to adopt the alchemist's mantra. The next time you are confronted with a trigger, instead of thinking, "That person is irritating me," train your mind to consciously change your language. Think, "An irritating energy has been activated in my vessel. Interesting. Let me observe the reaction that is happening inside." This simple change of language instantly moves you from the role of victim to the role of scientist of your own soul. Think of a master chef and an amateur cook. Both can be given exactly the same ingredient. Pans, his uncontrolled fire, his lack of technique, can burn the whole food and, in the end, blame the quality of the ingredients. The master chef, on the other hand, with his cast iron cauldrons and his wisdom about time and temperature, transforms the same ingredients into a master. The fundamental difference is not in the ingredients they gave them. It is in the quality, strength, and wisdom of the master's tools. Ability for your own peace. You are faced with raw, and the anguish that arises here is that of not knowing what to do with. When an intense emotion such as anger, sadness, or fear takes over your system, our conditioned impulse try to fix it or make it go away as quickly as possible. And this struggle, this resistance to what we are feeling, is what keeps us stuck in the cycle of reactivity. The first step to any great transformation is to heat the prima materia, the base substance, so that it begins to purify and transform itself. In psychological terms, the fire that starts this process is your focused awareness. It is the act of applying your full, pure, non-judgmental attention to your raw emotional experience. It is the first step to forging your inner vessel. From the need to do something is this: your first and most important task when faced with a difficult emotion is not to do anything. It is simply to observe. It is not to analyze the emotion. It is not to justify. It is not to suppress it. And it is not even to express it immediately. It is simply the act of being with the energy of the emotion in your body with a calm and detached curiosity. Observation slowly begins to cook and purify the raw energy of the complex, separating the gold from the dross. To begin cultivating this inner fire, the invitation is to use the silent witness technique the next time a strong emotion arises instead of reacting. Try this. First, stop whatever you are doing. Second, close your eyes if it is safe. Third, locate the raw energy of the emotion in your body, a lump in your throat, a burning in your stomach. Fourth, for 3 minutes, simply observe the sensation with your mind as if it were a cloud of colored energy. Don't give it a story. Just watch it move. Change intensity, perhaps change location. Witness it without resistance until it begins to dissipate. Think of your reactive emotions, your complexes, as a piece of cold, rigid, brittle iron, or give it a new shape while it is cold. You must first heat it in the fire so that it becomes malleable and receptive to transformation. Your raw emotions are the cold iron, and your observing consciousness, your ability to witness without judgment, is the furnace. The furnace does not judge the iron. It does not try to change it. It simply heats it with a steady flame, preparing it for the great transformation that is to come. Material of your emotion, the fire of awareness, you may find yourself faced with the pain of polarization. It is the tendency to oscillate between two opposing extremes. Either you allow yourself to be completely consumed by emotion, drowning in it, or you completely becoming cold, disconnected, and overly rational, or cold, that there is no middle ground, no state that you can feel deeply without losing yourself. What alchemy teaches us about the forging of steel is that to create a blade that is both strong and flexible, it is not enough to simply heat it. It must go through the process of tempering, extreme heating, followed by rapid cooling. It is the clash of opposites that creates true strength. The tempering of your soul's vessel is your ability to learn to contain two opposing realities at once: the heat of your most intense emotion and the cold of your detached, observing conscious. This is what Jung called the conjunctio oppositorum, the sacred union of and the break in expectation that defines true mastery is this: inner strength does not come from choosing one pole over the other. It does not come from being merely rational or merely emotional, a psychic container large enough to contain both. It is the ability to feel overwhelming sadness in your chest and, at the same time, observe that sadness with serene peace. It is feeling the fury of anger in your stomach and, at the same time, witnessing that energy with calm curiosity. This ability to contain duality is what makes your vessel truly unbreakable. This is where the transcendent function, the vision of the third eye, is born. This ability, we invite you to try the anchor and wave exercise. The next time you feel a difficult emotion, which is the wave, bring your attention to it in your body, and simultaneously bring your attention to a stable physical anchor. This could be the feeling of the weight of your feet firmly planted on the ground, or the steady rhythm of your breath coming in and out. Then practice keeping your awareness divided between the two. And at the same time, the unshakable stability of your anchor. You are actively training your psyche to contain opposites. Think of the soul as a blade being a sword that is merely heated in fire becomes soft, loses its. A sword that is merely cooled or made of cold iron becomes brittle and shatters first impact. The Excalibur of your soul is forged in the fire of passion and tempered in the cold water of wisdom. Over and over again, your soul becomes unbreakable, neither too soft nor too brittle. When you learn to bear at the same time the heat of your passion and the cold. And so we come to the final fruit of all this work. But first, we need to look at the last pain, the pain of fearing, fear of engaging in new challenges, new relationships, new experiences, because of the memory of how easily you used to break. It is the fear that, despite all the work, a new storm may once again shatter your vessel. What happens when the vessel of your forged in fire of consciousness and tempered in the water of is that you become in yourself stone. Stone is the mythical substance that has the power to transform any base metal, such as lead, into pure gold. In Jungian terms, the individuated self, the psyche that has become strong and whole, acquires this same capacity. And the supreme revelation, the one that fulfills the promise of our meeting, is this: when your psychic vessel's forged, nothing and no one can affect you negatively anymore. Low, painful, or negative may be, the lead of life is automatically processed and transformed into gold within you. A criticism becomes an insight into yourself. A loss becomes profound compassion. Failure becomes resilience and wisdom. You stop fearing life's ingredients because you trust in your ability to transmute them. And this mastery changes the fundamental question you ask of life, a difficult. Instead of asking from the place of the victim, why is this happening to me? You naturally begin to ask from the place of the alchemist, what is the gold hidden in this? What wisdom is this experience trying to offer me? What has this darkness come to illuminate in me? You are no longer the frightened apprentice, afraid that the chemicals in your laboratory will explode and harm you. Alchemist, at the center of your sacred laboratory. And now you receive each ingredient that life brings you, sweet or bitter, with a calm and serene curiosity, knowing that you have the knowledge, the technique, and the inner equipment to transform anything into something of immense. You are no longer affected by life. You have become its creative partner. From the pain of being a cracked vessel, porous to the negativity of the world, through the forge of the fire of consciousness and the tempering in the water of opposite, until we reach the mastery of the alchemist, who has learned to transform all experiences into wisdom. True strength, as we have seen, is not a shield that protects you from life. Furnace, power of transmutation that transforms everything life gives you into more of yourself, more awareness, more power, and more. For the goal of the journey of individuation is not to escape suffering or to protect yourself from life. It is to find meaning, and meaning is found in our ability to consciously contain and transform our experience, moment by moment. The world will never stop presenting you challenging ingredients, but you no longer have to be a victim of them. You are the laboratory, your consciousness is the forge, and your life is your great work. Take the lead that has been given to you today, the challenge that is before you now, and begin the alchemy. The power of not being destroyed by anything already resides in your ability to transform everything. Gratitude.